From Sheridan Media News, it's time for Open Line Friday. Your chance to join the conversation and talk about what you want to talk about. Call the Jackson Electric Open Line at 672-KROE. That's 672-5763. Now, your hosts on the Jackson Electric Open Lines, Steve Sisson and Floyd Whiting.
Good morning and welcome to the Jackson Electric Open Lines. I'm Floyd Whiting and I'm here with my friends Steve Sisson and Trevor Jackson. We are your open line guys. Now, we've got something new. You can leave a comment if you can't make the call. You can make this comment on our live stream, YouTube, Facebook, or our website. Or you can give us a ring, 674-4443. or 672-5763. And we're going to head right over to the poll question. Some new things have developed in this in the case since we talked about it last week. We just touched on it a little bit.
Right.
But before we go to the poll question, I want you individuals out there that are listening and want to make comment on this, let's discuss the philosophy of what really went down. You know, if you feel he's guilty, I'm all for listening to that. If you feel that he's not, I'm all for listening to that too. But let's really explore the different leaks that have happened over the last, what would you say, decade?
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yep.
All right, Steve, what does the poll question look like?
So the question is, should Julian Assange be prosecuted for leaking documents? And our results, 59% say yes, 36% say no, and 5% undecided.
All right, so the majority of individuals, not a whole lot.
But it's a little over half, but it is,
half.
you know, it's significantly more than say no.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it seems like the majority obviously are wanting some prosecution in that regard.
Now, see, it's really hard when I can remember when WikiLeaks was big. I went to it all the time.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the main reason I got a Twitter, was so
really?
that I could go to WikiLeaks' Twitter feed.
Okay.
And we can all remember the 2016 election and the part that it played in that.
Hillary's emails were a big part of that.
Hillary's emails, that's right.
Yep.
So, I mean, we have to explore a lot of different avenues when it comes to this. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Edward Snowden is absolutely guiltless, but the fact of the matter is what we do know is that Snowden figured out that the government was spying on its own citizens, and I don't care who you are, to me, that is wrong. Now, if we're looking for bad guys, I'm all for it, okay? Not for spying on regular citizens, but for spying on bad guys.
Right.
Okay? If you're under investigation, that's a different matter. If you're just the average Joe and the government is in your stuff, wrong. Edward Snowden figured out that that's what they were doing, and when he exposed this, he got in trouble. Julian Assange and his people up at WikiLeaks, that's a little different, but at the same time, he was trying to expose certain things that the government was doing during the war that may not be ethical to the majority of us.
Right. Yeah, things that if you knew the government was doing, you'd have a different opinion probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So where are we now? Well, the founder of WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, faces 18 U.S. criminal charges related to the site's publishing of thousands of diplomatic cables and classified files in 2010. So this stretches back 12 years.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, this was a while ago.
Yeah.
And prosecutors allege that Assange unlawfully helped former U.S. Army intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning to steal thousands of classified document cables or diplomatic cables and military files, which were published by WikiLeaks in that year, 2010. Now, this has been, WikiLeaks was founded in 2006. The documents in question were related to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and revealed that the U.S. had killed hundreds of civilians in Afghanistan in previously undisclosed incidents. The leaked files also showed that 66,000 civilians had been killed by Iraqi forces and that prisoners had been tortured. I've been to war. I think longtime listeners know that. But I don't agree with torture. We're better than that. And I've always felt that. That is not. Plus, they've done studies and found that torture doesn't actually work.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
There's other psychological games.
Far more effective.
Far more effective.
Yeah.
The military has a course that is taken by our pilots, by our special agents, and they're put through psychological discomfort, we'll call.
Okay.
And for a series of days. But it basically just outlines for them, this is what this could be like, guys. We need to know where you're going to crack, if you're going to crack. Just based on rumors that I've heard, so I won't say what they are, but based on rumors that I've heard through military channels when I was in, it doesn't sound fun in any way.
I'm sure it's not.
In any way. Even there are certain levels that you can qualify through. So I just feel that even just some of the stuff that we did to train our individuals would be enough to the common person to be like, hey, what do you want to know? Whatever you got, buddy, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think if what Julian Assange and his team put forward put the lives of operatives or military members at risk, he needs to be charged. Now, that's my opinion.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think most people would probably agree with that. It's kind of one of those things where you need to find the medium between, keeping. There are certain things that governments need to have secrets just for.
I totally agree.
For the benefit of our society.
Yep.
And that stuff needs to stay secret. So if you cross that line, I think you've gone too far.
We had a caller once ask us why we have military all over the world. And it interests. We have interests everywhere. We need to know this stuff. We need to know what foreign governments are doing. And we need to know what foreign governments are keeping from us.
Right. A lot of that stuff is protecting our homeland because
Absolutely.
Otherwise you get blindsided by this stuff. It's been building for years and you don't know about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I completely agree with the government keeping certain things under wraps. It's got to be. And, if you've got bad guy out there who is making some sort of nefarious plan, and through some course of action we've learned about this, I completely agree. You check him out.
Right.
Use the technology that we have just to check him out. If everything passes the bar, then that's fine. If it doesn't, well...
The real issue with all that is how do you hold them accountable and keep them in those constraints? Because by the very nature of the business, it's all covert stuff.
Right.
So there's no transparency there.
Yeah.
What's to stop them from saying, okay, well, we're spying on these people because they're on some terrorist watch list. Well, let's just go ahead and spy on these people that aren't because we think maybe they could be, beneficial to us to learn what they're up to.
Or I saw him stop by somebody's house once.
Yeah.
And so now I'm going to investigate this guy because he stopped, with his daughter and they sold this organization some Girl Scout cookies. That's, they could go.
Yeah, it could go anywhere.
Any direction they wanted.
And what's to stop it?
And that's the hard part. What's to stop it?
Yeah.
Honest people, and believe it or not, they exist. And they are out there, and they are in these positions. We hear all the time how the government is just, all of it's just so bad. Guys, the U.S. government's got checks and balances, okay? And even though you may think that one instance or one committee or one set of people is bad, well, that's why we've got honest people up there.
Yeah, not every individual involved in those is corrupt.
No.
Yeah.
I mean... I don't know. If everybody was as bad as everyone thinks or wants to say that they are, imagine how busy our local police force would actually be.
Right, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think the majority of people are actually intrinsically good. I really do feel
Or at least they have the right interests in mind. Maybe we don't agree with how they're going about things, but they are genuinely approaching it from the right mindset, I think.
Yeah.
Where, this is what's going to help people. This is going to make things better.
Yeah.
We may not agree on the exact path to get there, but we're all trying to get the same place.
I don't agree with what McCarthy did with his communist witch hunt back in the day. I just do not agree with it. But what was his intention? I'm trying to find Soviet spies in the United States, which was a very real thing.
Yep.
And it's such muddy water sometimes, you know. But we got a caller. Let's go to it. Go ahead, caller. You're on the Jackson Electric open line.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
So I want to thank you for being able to get Dixie Johnson in on yesterday. And I just wanted to follow up for those who didn't hear yesterday.
Absolutely. Please.
Yeah. So on the upcoming Sheridan County Chamber of Commerce candidate forum to be held at the WYO Theater this Monday and Tuesday, both start at 6. Monday, as a reminder, are county and municipal races, and Tuesday are state races. They may go a little bit long, like maybe 9:30 on Monday, but this really is the best opportunity that the voters in Sheridan County have to really get an understanding of who are the candidates, do they understand the office that they're running for, what are their qualifications for the office, and why should they be the one to be voted for. So I just really wanted to reiterate what she had stated yesterday. And then separately, I just wanted to announce that over this weekend, we will be going live with YVote, which is WYVOTE.vote, which is a voter information website. It's nonpartisan that answers the question around general information on getting registered and voting. What are the position descriptions for elected officers? And who are the people by county who are running? So a place online to get information. So thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for getting that information out. We've got some news stories on SheridanMedia.com. So if throughout your day you have to go back and wonder when the heck was that going to happen again, jump online, check it out. And you can also find that information on the Chamber's website. Make sure that you're there, folks. There's a lot of candidates this year.
Right.
A lot of candidates. I think 11 people are running for city council this year. After the primaries, we'll get some of those local individuals in. I'm speaking with as many individuals kind of in the legislative seats that I can as of right now. You reach out to me. We'll try to get you on the show. I'd love to ask you some questions. The more information that a voter has, the better.
Absolutely. Yep. I've said it before. I think a misinformed or uninformed voter is worse than a non-voter.
Absolutely dangerous.
Yep.
Absolutely dangerous.
Yep.
And I've been in the news business for a little while now, and I've seen, in my opinion, I've met some of the smartest people I've ever known in my life. Believe it or not, we were just talking about that intrinsically good thing. I have seen a lot of individuals work countless hours for their constituents. And I've been lucky enough to be able to ask those individuals a series of questions pertaining to that. And I feel that, we've, here in Wyoming, we got a good team.
I think so, yep.
We really do. All right, so give me a call or jump online to our live stream, YouTube, Facebook, or our website. Let me know if you think that Julian Assange should be prosecuted, or if you think that he shouldn't for the information that he leaked. New developments. Julian Assange will be extradited to the United States. Some feel that the decision by Home Secretary over in the UK, Patel, to extradite the WikiLeaks founder to the U.S. ought to worry anyone who cares about journalism and democracy. I think, again, this is where we're going to wade into some muddy water.
Yes.
Because I do. All right? I do care about journalism and democracy. But if you're torturing people, your citizens deserve to know.
Yeah.
Your citizens deserve to know. On the other hand, if the information that you are putting forward is putting the lives of U.S. service members at risk, you are in the wrong. You are absolutely
that becomes treason at that point.
I totally agree.
Yep.
Totally agree. All right, we got another caller. Go ahead. You're on the Jackson Electric Open Line.
Yes, good morning, fellas. Listen, if I could, I wanted to make 3 short comments, very short.
Very short?
Very short.
Very short?
Okay. At 10 o'clock on Tuesday, coming up, the county commissioners will be considering the vacation of the Carbon Hill Road, and the reason for this vacation, so stated by Mr. Cam Forbes, is he wishes to return to the commercial solar panel farm that he was planning on putting up there, which was denied in, I believe, February of this year, and it's a return to solar panels just up the road about half a mile. But if people are interested, they should show up. There will be people objecting to this. I think the people in the Paradise Park area and Jeffrey's Draw should know that the reason for the vacation is to accommodate a return to solar panel commercial farm. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the New York Times recently had an article about how people can change their party affiliation, how many days, et cetera, before a primary election. Now, the reason that's of interest is I understand that, and it's available, I think you can Google it, that Liz Cheney has also made this information available on how you can change your party affiliation before going to a primary. Now, is this is the question, an effort to get Democrats to become Republicans in the primary? The last thing I wanted to talk about is, here we come again with the 1 cent penny. I have never personally voted for that. Half of the 1 cent penny is a slush fund to go to various projects that you may or may not approve of. But I myself won't be voting for that penny. It's not the simple sell you get, oh, it's just a penny and it does so much good. It's another, my opinion, slush fund. I said that even when Mr. Kinski was mayor. Thank you. All
right. Slush fund. Well, it does, I don't know. That depends on the voters. We'll let them decide on how they feel about that. I know just a lot of the different organizations that put in for that, I do believe I'm not sure about Sheridan, but in other areas, like a lot of 501c3s will put in for that to see if they can get a little funding behind them. But I would agree that, sometimes you're like, wow, why are you spending that money on that project?
Right,
Yes. So I would agree there. It's kind of a 50-50 deal, Sometimes you like where it's going. Sometimes you don't. Mm-hmm. And that sounds pretty much like every single penny in this country. Sometimes you're totally cool with where it's going. And other times you're like, how did it find its way over there?
And often you don't have very granular control over that either. So.
I know. It's so frustrating.
You can't get down to that penny very often.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, let's explore Ed Snowden. This is the Jackson Electric Open Lines on 930 KROE and 103.9 FM. Sheridan.
From the simplest to the most complex electrical applications, Jackson Electric has the knowledge, experience, and reputation to meet and exceed any electrical need or equipment. Jackson Electric expertise even includes phone systems, data systems, LED lighting systems, fire alarm systems, and irrigation systems, residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural. If it has anything to do with electricity, anything at all, Jackson Electric does it. 1851 North Main in Sheridan.
The election boundaries have been redrawn to comply with 2022 legislation, and these changes may have affected your voting precinct, polling place, House and Senate districts, or school district. If you received a blue card in the mail, please check it for changes that have affected you. If you have moved or have questions, don't wait until the August 16th primary election to ask. Call the Sheridan County Election Office today at 674-2515. That's 674-2515, or email elections@SheridanCountyWY.gov.
would you like to win $500 in Chamber Bucks just in time for Rodeo Week? Chamber Bucks can be used anywhere in Sheridan County or even cashed at your bank. This is Kyla Allen with ERA Carroll Realty inviting you to enter the ERA Carroll Realty Summer Sweepstakes. Just go to the contest page on SheridanMedia.com where you can enter daily through the 4th of July. Winner is drawn on July 5th. Have a great summer. ERA Carroll Realty. We're about more than real estate. We're about family, friendship, and community.
You know it's going to be a good day when someone says, hey, let's do lunch at Frackleton's. Open for lunch at 11 a.m., Frackleton's has new creative lunch ideas throughout the Frack lunch menu, helping you stay focused and energized while recharging both your body and your mind for the rest of your busy day. And have one of the best darn lunches anywhere in Sheridan. The best of the best in the West. Frackleton's, fine food and spirits on Main Street, downtown Sheridan, where good food is good mood. Remember that kid in the country song whose dad was a coal miner? Had to haul water and bathe in the creek and sell a hog just to buy shoelaces? Well, if that family had just called 307 Wildcat Well Service, they'd have running water in the holler. A local company that specializes in locating water, drilling and pumps, residential or ranch, new wells, or repair service. So for water wells and all that goes with them, look for 307 Wildcat Well Service on Facebook, and you too will have cool, clean water. Water.
On this week's Weekend Sports Wrap podcast, we are super chill. We're just chilling out on this week's Weekend Sports Wrap podcast. Not a whole lot of news. We talk about the end of the NBA Finals, some Stanley Cup final stuff, College World Series, and so on and so forth. But we also talk about one of the rarest things in the history of the MLB that happened last week. We get into those topics and more on the Weekend Sports Wrap podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, or on SheridanMedia.com and PodcastWyoming.com.
Good morning and welcome back to the Jackson Electric Open Lines. I'm Floyd Whiting and I'm here with my friends Steve Sisson and Trevor Jackson. We're your open line guys. Give us a ring. 674-4443 or 672-5763. Let's say you want to make a comment, but you just don't have the time to stop and pick up the phone.
Or you don't want to be on the air.
Or you don't want to be on the air.
Of that too,
yeah, there is a lot of that. Absolutely. Well, now, thanks to my wizards, and Steve, you're one of them, and I got another Steve. My wizards have made it so you can actually jump on our YouTube page, our Facebook, or right there on our website. Get onto that live stream. You can make a comment. This morning, we're talking about Julian Assange and whether or not he should actually be prosecuted for his release of a series of government documents back in 2013. He's been hiding out.
Yeah.
He ran over to the UK, wanted some asylum. Well,
And that ran out.
it's almost been a decade, and the Homeland Secretary, Patel, has made the decision to extradite the WikiLeaks founder back to the U.S. Now, a lot of people are saying, hey, you ought to be worried if you're into freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. You ought to be worried about this. Mm-hmm. But we've had that discussion where we feel that the water's pretty muddy on this.
It is, yeah.
If you're going to deal with sensitive information, you better know what you're handling. You know, if you're like, oh, we're going to expose the government doing this, are you putting someone's life at risk?
Yeah.
Are you putting a soldier's life at risk? Because I can tell you right now, those soldiers over there, yes, they have political opinions, but in a way, you're told not to have one. Look, you're fighting this nation's wars. Right? That's your job. Mm-hmm. That's what you're there to do. You can stand in your circle with your buddies and talk politics all day, but the bottom line is you serve your country and you do what your officer says as long as it's lawful. And you're putting that individual's life at risk who's only trying to do their job and get home safe.
The question is, I think, is the water so muddy that it isn't actually possible to expose the stuff that ought to be exposed without at the same time
putting someone's life in danger.
Yeah.
So then, you know, we can really look at like the Julian Assange, Edward Snowden difference. You know, what Assange wanted to expose to you, more civilians being killed than what the United States was willing to talk about openly. Iraqi forces who were our allies over there, killing civilians, quite a few, by the way, quite a few, and prisoners being tortured. Edward Snowden stepped forward and basically said, hey, guys, your government is spying on you unlawfully. To me, there's a big difference in that one. And I'm not saying that that's, a quick and dirty answer, but because you're right. Whose life are you putting at risk to get the truth out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it may not be possible.
And it may not be possible.
You can't draw a clear line if the water's that muddy. There's going to be some overlap in there, and it may not be possible to expose the things you want to expose without at the same time committing some form of treason.
Yeah. And doesn't the U.S. citizenry deserve to know what the government is doing in our name?
I would think so.
Yeah.
But if it comes at a certain cost to know that information, then which way is better?
Which way is better?
Yeah.
That's the debate, folks. All right, we've got a caller. Go ahead. You are on the Jackson Electric Open Line.
Yeah, say, I was wondering, how about a poll on your Sheridan Media website there? Instead of something like, did D.B. Cooper get away? I mean, half the people don't even know who he was or wasn't even alive when he, jumped out of the plane. How about something of relevance to Sheridan County, such as a poll on should we move the steam engine at 5th Street?
We had that.
Yeah, we have asked that. Yep.
Yeah, we had that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you did have that
Yes,
poll?
sir. Yes, sir. We had that actually quite a while ago.
Yeah, and I think it was a pretty strong no on the results.
If I remember right,
Yeah.
it was. We can't we don't have the ability to keep these poll numbers, folks. But I'm pretty sure it was.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people didn't want to support that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I follow your website fairly close, and I never saw that poll there. I know that on Facebook there was a lot of user groups that had comments on it, but I never saw a poll on.
Yeah, I'd say
Sheridan
it's
Media.
been probably a year maybe since we asked it.
It's been quite a while. I'm sorry you missed it. How do you feel about it?
Well, obviously I'm against it. I don't know. They have came up with all kinds of different reasons for moving it. The one that I find the most humorous is the fact that it's sinking. I mean, come on, 4 inches, in, 70 years. Who measured it 70 years ago? I think if they move it, and I believe it will be moved, of course, to a place where, it's going to be harder to see, and cost taxpayers more money to move, and the taxpayers aren't even for it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's ridiculous, and I think it's upper echelon, small town politics that the few dictate, what's good for Sheridan. I think that if you would have had a poll on the Lion Dogs, which possibly you did, those Lion Dogs never would have been moved. The people don't want it, but it still somehow happens. I don't know. I just think that small town politics at its best here, and the few dictating what the majority will have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically all I have. And then the added expense of taxpayer dollars, and I'm sure that you can spin that. It's not local money, and it's federal money, and it's matching money, and it's all this and that. It may came out of a different pocket, but it was still out of the same pair of pants. The money, it's taxpayer money. A lot of it's generated funding. I know the Rotary was involved in it and getting it moving. And, the silent majority, the people the small people, I guess, for lack of a better word, their voice won't be heard, unfortunately, in this matter. And I guess that's...
Unless those things come up for like a public vote, You really don't have much of a.
And maybe that's the route that we should take, where we just literally say, let's throw it on the ballot in November, baby.
Yeah, I mean, there's an expense involved with that.
Sure.
But, if it's something important to the community, like the locomotive's kind of a, landmark there.
Yeah. And, I think we've had enough debate back and forth. Granted, this is what you and I do for a living, right? So, of course, you and I are going to hear a lot about it. But I think from what I've seen, the conversations around town, the conversations among leadership, I think this is a matter that is important enough to the people, at least. Mm-hmm. Throw it on that ballot. Get it on there. Let's make a definitive answer by the people, for the people.
That will never happen. I just can't see that happening. It can't be moved if that's the case. And the steam engine, it's going to be moved. And the way you move it is in exactly the same way that they're going about it.
Right. Well, I got a comment here from April 30th.
Yeah, that 2021. That's when we did the poll. 2021. Yeah, we were able to look it up.
So it was a while ago.
A little over a year ago. Yep.
Yeah. This individual, Mitch Smith, says it was very obvious there was a deal in place a year ago when they had to fix, and that's in quotation marks, the asbestos so the locomotive could be moved. He said that was the first step. So, maybe this has been in the works and we just don't know it, but I certainly haven't heard anything until we threw the poll up, until people started coming to me about it, really. Now, I hate to cut everybody off, but I've got to take a quick commercial break. This is the Jackson Electric Open Lines on 930 KROE and 103.9 FM, Sheridan.
Having your own business can be overwhelming. Parker Mellinger can make your life easier with our payroll preparation, accounting, and tax services. Our fixed price agreement is set according to your needs and features unlimited phone calls and meetings for one monthly fee. Choose only the services you need, and we will tailor them to fit your business. Call today to see how we can provide you with cost-effective solutions. Parker Mellinger, 1811 South Sheridan Avenue, Sheridan.
I'm Michelle Hart from Cody, Wyoming. Last year, my husband Tim was on a wildland fire down in New Mexico, and he was injured parachuting into the fire, and he unfortunately passed away 9 days later. Shortly after he died, I actually went to DC and asked to meet with Liz. We had a very intense and emotional conversation about these issues. Liz was really surprised when I was telling her about the issues of homelessness, pay disparity. She really wanted to do something about that. Those words were followed up with action. I just really enjoyed of getting to work with her and having her supporting Tim's Act in the House and really pushing and putting pressure on legislators to be able to do something to fix these issues that are really critical to the public safety. She's a true fighter on their behalf, and I look forward to continuing to get to work with her until these issues are fully resolved. And I know I have her commitment in doing that.
I'm Liz Cheney, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Liz Cheney.
Call Jackson Electric and you'll see the light. Maybe it's as simple as adding an extra outlet. Maybe it's as detailed as wiring an industrial building. Maybe it's high-efficiency LED lighting or fire alarm system or phone system installation and repair. Maybe it's data system wiring, irrigation wiring, or electric motor sales and repair. Commercial, residential, industrial, agriculture, above ground, below ground. Call Jackson Electric and you'll see the light. 1851 North Main in Sheridan.
The rodeo is part of who we are. It's our history, our identity. But boy, this is not your granddaddy's rodeo anymore. The YO is bigger, better, and bolder. Larger purses, tougher competition, and a whole lot of family fun. Come for the World Champion Indian Relay Races, high-stakes PRCA action, and a warm welcome unlike anywhere else in the world. You gotta be here to feel it. Get your tickets at SheridanWyoRodeo.com.
The owners and staff at Kane's Funeral Home would like to thank the families of Sheridan and Johnson counties for choosing Canes and allowing them to serve you during these hard times. Kane Funeral Home makes it their mission to take the stress and uncertainty out of ceremonial services. They own and operate the only crematory in Sheridan County, so your loved one is always in their care. Kane's Funeral Home. Call 673-5837 or visit them online at canefuneral.com.
Good morning.
That was a good one, Floyd.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. That just naturally came out, too.
Good, yeah.
You weren't even like really trying on that
I
one.
was just kind of keyed the mic and went for it,
Yeah,
brother.
rolled right into it.
See, you do this long enough. You do this long enough, and those keyed responses are going to be there. Oh, Trevor's pulling.
Keep telling yourself.
How long you been doing this for, Trevor? You don't want to say.
Oh, man.
Well, let's see.
You were here before some of the walls.
Well, yes, he actually literally was. The rooms we were in right now did not exist.
Yeah, the rooms we were in right now were basically where all the snakes lived.
And some would say they still do.
Yeah, they probably still do. All right, I'll keep my forked tongue right behind my teeth on that one. All right, we've got a caller. Go ahead, caller. You're on the Jackson Electric open line.
Okay, I want to touch on two subjects you guys been discussing. The first one about Assange. I kind of take him like I do other things. There's good about him and bad about him both. There's some things that need to be kept a secret. I think a lot of people don't realize you put something on the internet and the whole world can read it. I've seen people on little islands in the Philippines that were on the internet reading the same things people here read.
Well, and there were news reporters in Iraq who were embedded with units, and I can remember the things that they were saying on the news were giving away our movements. So they had to be pulled out of there.
Yeah.
They thought they were reporting the news to the utmost. Well, yeah, and the bad guy was watching the news.
Right. They could see
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I remember when Trump said that the FBI had bugged his home, and every Democrat on TV was calling Trump a liar, and that didn't happen and everything. Come to find out, it was proven they actually did. And, of course, the FBI was doing that to try to help Hillary get elected, and that's all that was about. But I think the public should know about things like that. And one thing we're up against is the Democrats almost control everything, not just the Congress and the White House.
I think you give the Democrats way too much credit. You call in quite a bit, but I just want to say that if they had the power that you believe that they do, I would argue that they would do a lot more than what they do. I just don't feel that Democrats have this influence that you're talking about. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, a lot of people who are saying, oh, Floyd, you just don't know what's going on. Well, hey, look, why don't you give a certain percentage of the Republicans some credit, all right? These checks and balances that we were talking about earlier, they do exist. And both of these parties keep such a fine eye on the other one that I just don't feel that some of the things that you try to put forward are possible. Now, is it possible that the FBI was trying to get Hillary Clinton elected? You bet. I'd say, sure, that's possible. That's absolutely possible. I don't know if it was ever proven or if there's any evidence to that, but it's plausible. We could throw that out there. And I do believe it was around last week that you said that 70% of Republicans are rhinos. Well, if 70% of Republicans are rhinos, in your opinion, then we'd have to look at what is a Republican again, right? I'm just saying, don't give the Democrats that much credit.
I think that was somebody else.
Well, if it was, I apologize. But I would tell you, don't give them that much credit. I don't think they can get away with the things that you say because the Republicans are up there working for you too. They're not sitting on their hands.
Yeah, they would have to be complicit in it, I think.
In so much of it. And I don't think they are.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a handful are.
Well, maybe. But, at the same time, you can say maybe a handful of Democrats are complicit to anything that the Republicans
There's a
want.
spectrum there.
Yeah.
And Rand Paul's kind of in the middle, and then it goes left and right from there.
And I would say that spectrum needs to exist. Look, we've got to reach across the aisle to get stuff done.
Yeah, you go all the way from Bernie Sanders on one side to Ted Cruz on the other, probably.
And, so everyone hated Clinton, but by the time his second term was up, so did the Democrats.
You're right.
Because he'd worked with the Republicans so much.
Yeah.
All right, I got another caller. Go ahead, caller. You're on the Jackson Electric Open Line.
Yeah, real quick as to that comment, Democrats haven't done them. Stay tuned. Watch them as they move forward.
They're coming for you.
You said a couple of things. Well, you can joke about it, but take a look at the Disinformation Governance Board. You think they've forgotten about that? Stay tuned. A couple of things that were said last week I want to comment on, just so your viewers get
Clear it up.
You said it was very hard for any widespread fraud elections to take place, and the other fellow said, I think, fraud has never been on a large scale. I'm going to encourage your listeners once again to watch 2,000 Mules. One of the gals in True the Vote that was eminent in getting this produced said something I thought was very accurate. She said, you don't need a whole lot of fraud. You just need a little in the right places over time. Liz Cheney, by the way, said during her committee hearing, or whatever that thing is, she said, well, 2,000 Mules has been debunked. And then she moved on to something else. She had no more details. So I've contacted her office now 3 times, once by email, once by phone, and once on her website, asking for, could you clarify for us dummies that don't understand how it's been debunked, by whom, using what methodology, and with what evidence? Crickets. I guess she's too busy sending out informational cards to the registered Democrats showing them how to re-register as Republican for the primary. But the whole matter of fraud, again, this really doesn't necessarily go to quote-unquote fraud. You don't need to prove fraud. The mules that are shown in there were not just overzealous political operatives. They've got evidence by 2 different sources that many of them were paid per ballot delivered to the drop boxes, which is universally illegal. So regardless of the reason, etc., an illegal ballot is an illegal ballot. You can call it fraud, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But just so people know, this has been a standard media response that, there's no evidence, now we have some. Arizona is, I think the 2 counties in Arizona, the sheriff's department are getting involved in it, as they should. But the business of widespread fraud, no. You don't need that. You need to target it, and they did it very, very well, very successly. So
now you called in once, and you said that you have evidence of all of this. I can remember that. Now, why haven't you come forward with the evidence that you have?
No, I'm citing other people's evidence. I'm citing the things that I saw under sworn testimony in state legislative hearings. I watched dozens of hours of them. That's what I was referring to. If that's not evidence, take the Detroit, Wayne County situation if you want. That's a clear evidence that the Republicans tried not to certify it until out came the stormtroopers and told them on social media, by the way, we know where your kids go to school. Oops. Well, then they didn't resist it anymore. The big lie that Liz Cheney wants everybody to think was Donald Trump's concoction, and I'm not speaking on behalf of Trump. I care less. I'm interested in integrity of elections, which I hope we all are. And if we are, then we won't just poo-poo this by saying, it's a big lie, it's been debunked, let's move on.
I don't think it's being poo-pooed. I mean, this committee is pretty serious stuff. It's bipartisan, no matter how you feel about the Republicans that are sitting up there. There are Republicans on the committee.
And who selected them?
You tell me.
Nancy Pelosi. This is the first instance in the history of this republic where the minority party was not allowed to select its members to a select committee. Pelosi overruled it. They sent in Jim Jordan and one other name. They said, no, we're going to go with these two. Bipartisan? Give me a break.
They're Republicans. It's bipartisan.
What?
They're Republicans. It's bipartisan.
They were not put there by the Republican minority. Don't you understand that?
So are these Republicans complicit in the? Are these?
Are you saying? Yeah.
Are these all rhinos?
Yeah. I don't care if they're rhinos, and I don't give a damn.
Well, are they?
They are not legitimately appointed to that committee because the minority leader in the House has the right to put who he wants on there. Have you heard any of these witnesses cross-examined? Have you heard any other defense testimony by anybody? This is a show trial. It's a scam. It's a joke, and I don't think it's going to deflect from widespread crime, if you want to call it something widespread, inflation, the mess in Afghanistan, everything this administration has done.
So you're saying that every single investigator, every single attorney, every single person who's out there trying to find the truth is in on just finding a one-way thing.
Or incompetent.
That's what you're saying.
Who do you think is trying, other than Dinesh D'Souza and Citizens United and a couple other organizations, True the Vote? You name me one that's trying to look at it. The point was, Liz Cheney also came out with this plethora, this laundry list of court decisions right after this all happened. And the strange thing is, you keep saying that investigations, every single court decision that came down, every one of them, refused to look at the evidence. They said they used procedural things like, estoppel by latches. That's a cute one. That just means you ran the clock out. You snooze, you lose. There was one attempt, in any of these court proceedings to actually have a full evidentiary hearing on the merits of the case. It was granted by Pennsylvania appellate judge Patricia McClaw. Her decision on that was immediately run by the Democrats, who aren't very effective at doing any of this, of course, to the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, who overturned it, and that was the end of the matter for any evidentiary hearing.
So the entire justice system.
In other words, all the Republicans are incompetent or in on it. Yeah. I have an issue with 2,000 Mules. It's the crux of the argument is based on geolocation of cell phones, and it greatly overstates the effectiveness of that, and then does a lot of speculation and supposition based on that foundation.
Yeah.
I found it to be thoroughly unconvincing.
And you really got to be careful when it comes to watching these documentaries. It's just like a Michael Moore. Was that his name? That guy?
Dinesh D'Souza, I think, is the right-wing equivalent of Michael Moore.
You cannot watch these things and think that you're getting the right information, because these two guys, they edit stuff to fit their narrative.
Yeah, there is a lot of out-of-context misrepresentation and a lot of supposition, speculation.
Yeah.
I did not find it convincing at all.
And at one point, I thought that Michael Moore, he was doing like a due diligence to the liberal side. But the fact of the matter is, no, you're doing more damage.
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
people find out you're lying.
Well, he's catering to people who already believe that he caters to them, and is not convincing anybody else.
Yeah, here, let me pat you on the back for our beliefs. All right, this has been the Jackson Electric Open Lines on 930 KROE and 103.9 FM. Share it.
From the